Joseph, YouTube, welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Chisha Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Wife asks her husband, will you still think I'm beautiful when I'm old and gray? Guys, this episode is featuring Christina P. and Tom Segura. No more wasting time. Let's get it.
Can I share a real insecure thought with you?
Sure.
So when I'm all old and yucky, are you going to look at me the way you look at Charo? Do you know what I mean? Or like because we're both old and sucky?
No, it's because we're both old. I've always been attracted
Yeah.
to the women in my age group. I'm
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
like even now I don't look at a 25-year-old and go like, damn, that's like a child to me.
Do we believe him, guys? Is Tom telling the truth here?
No.
Like I'm of the this is so as you age, I'm aging with you. That's the attraction level that I have, you know.
Yeah, I find that I have that as well.
Yeah.
Where I'm into my own age group.
Age group is
And you're
appropriate.
Like, this makes sense, but I didn't think I would be because I thought.
Me too. I
Yeah,
know.
didn't you think when you were younger you're gonna be like, ew,
Yeah,
they're
oh,
so gross?
no.
All right, guys, there's Tom beautifully sifting his way through that very complicated question from his wife. Here's something that's interesting before we talk about this specific topic. Speaking of getting old, man, have you guys ever walked into a club? One thing I've realized is everybody in there seems like they shouldn't be in there. What I mean by that is they all seem like they're in high school. Maybe it's just the clubs that I've stepped into here in LA, and I haven't gone to many, but it'd be like a friend of mine being like, hey, let's meet me here. And like I said, I haven't been to many. And guys, coming from somebody who's really not that old, if you really want to know how old you're getting, go to a club, man. Go to a club and you see all the 20, 21-year-olds and you're just like, man, these guys look like kids. I feel hella old up in here. But back to this conversation. We've got Tom Segura's wife, Christina, who asked, hey, will you still love me? Oh no, not will you still love me? Will you still think I'm beautiful when I'm gray and old? Which I think is a pretty interesting question, something I've actually thought of myself. A lot of you guys may know this. A lot of you guys probably don't. But for 10 years of my life, while pursuing things on the side, I've always been like hustling, trying to pursue passions on the side. But I had a steady job, and that steady job was I was CNA, certified nurse assistant, caregiver. And if you know anything about that job, you can work in like hospitals or transitional acute post-surgery hospitals, or what most people end up doing is they'll work in retirement homes, which is what I did. I started off in a hospital, and then probably for like, I'd say like 8 years, maybe even a little bit more, did like retirement homes. So that meant I dealt with a lot of elderly. It's a very humbling job. You're doing a lot of like caregiving, your daily living assistant type stuff. They're the people who needed help wiping themselves, right? You're wiping butts and you're taking care of people, feeding them, supervision, etc., medication, right? And a very rewarding job because I appreciate old people. When I see an older person, I tend to want to talk to them and just learn from them because I think in the West, they aren't really valued. It's a very lonely place to grow old. But back to the question at hand, getting sidetracked here. I remember specifically when it came to couples, when it came to old men, and it didn't matter whether their wife was still alive or not. If they came from a marriage that they enjoyed and powered through, that brought them fulfillment, these men would always talk about how beautiful their wives were when they were younger. And I mean all the time. Like you'd ask them like, hey, so, you know, how was marriage? Were you ever married? Babe? Oh yes, I had a beautiful wife. Oh, she was gorgeous. And then they would just go in on talking about how beautiful she was, how gorgeous she was. They could remember her, how she stood out. And they had other things they would talk about, like kids and appreciation for other attributes that their wife had. But the majority of what they would brag about was how beautiful their wives were. And some people may look at that and say, well, don't they think she's still beautiful? They're both old. Looks are fleeting. We're all going to get gray and old eventually. But I always thought that was interesting, but in a very strange way, it makes a lot of sense. And I think there's sort of a trade-off, man. When an elderly man or old man, of course, we're talking about like senior citizens in their like 80s, 90s, when they realize like, hey, this woman gave me her youth, they tend to appreciate that woman a lot better. They can reminisce to how she used to look like, and they appreciate and understand that, hey, I was given this woman's youth exclusively. And it's almost like these guys, when they look at these women, still saw them as beautiful based on the sacrifice that they made. And I think that's how it's supposed to be. Now, does this mean that those men don't find younger women attractive? That's not true. The data doesn't show that. The data shows that even old men think that younger women are more physically attractive. But I think there's a certain trade of value that women give men that men recognize. When a woman gives a man her youth, that changes that man's perception of his woman. He still sees her as that 28-year-old or 30-year-old or 35-year-old, even 40-year-old in his eyes when she's old and gray, right? He's able to reminisce. And I don't think it can be replicated, as in the women who are out here thinking, oh, I'll find my man at 60. I'm going to divorce my man in my 40s. And then I'm going to lock a man down in my 50s, 60s. You're not going to be appreciated the same way that a man will appreciate a woman who's stuck with him and also given that man her youth. The same way that a man appreciates a man who's worked and provided. And the women would brag about other things, things that he did and the sacrifices he made. And he was a good father and he worked hard, he provided. And in the end, when I looked at these old couples, they were content with the way things ended up, right? So I don't think women who grow old really have to worry about their man looking at them with disgust as they grow older. I don't think it works that way. Now, as always, guys, we're going to check out some of these comments. Let's see what the people have to say. Of course, they chimed in. First comment here says his body language. This comment has 25 likes. Somebody else responded back to that comment, says, I noticed the scratch at his nose too. 5 likes on that one. So people really don't believe him. I would say this. I think he did a good job answering the question. I don't think maybe he didn't want to admit that he finds younger women more physically attractive than older women. But it's hard, man. How do you say that? Because that's a general statement. But when it comes to your woman, you can definitely be like, oh, but babe, I'll choose you every time because you're my woman. It's a difference. There's a difference when a woman has sacrificed her youth for you. And I'm talking about in the case that she's old and gray, right? So I'm sure right now he definitely looks at this woman and thinks, oh, you're attractive. Here's another comment from another woman that says, everyone feels this, with an exclamation mark. And if you're lucky enough to marry a real man or woman, they feel the same. I don't know. I don't like that real man and real woman stuff right there. The truth is, if you're basing it on physical alone, most men find, the studies say most men find younger women in their 20s more attractive. But I think things change when you're talking about his wife and the wife that has gifted that man's youth and he's seen her grow, etc. Here's another comment that says the only unproblematic thing he's ever said. Another comment here says, I don't believe him, LOL. Somebody else responded with the laughing emoji. Here's another comment that says, Tom is totally not lying. Here's another comment from somebody else that says, good save, Tom. Another woman here added, he seems genuine to me. 300 likes. Another comment here says, Tom has mastered the concept of marriage. He even knows how to answer the questions correctly. A woman responds and says, do you think he's just telling her what she wants to hear rather than being genuine/honest? 8 likes. And this guy responded and says, probability-wise, he's telling her what she wants. Data shows the majority of men find younger women more attractive. That is true. Another comment here says, I don't understand why people find it so hard to believe. Another comment from another woman says, he's lying through his teeth, but it was sweet. And another chick here says, I thoroughly believed him though. Yeah, bet you did. People want to believe what they want to believe, right? Someone else responded back to that chick and says, nah, this is legit. I'm almost 40 with my wife for 18 years. I don't find younger girls that attractive anymore. Again, I think this is that thing, right? 18 years and you know your wife has, if you're comparing them with your wife, I think there's like a bonding there and an understanding that, man, this woman has gifted me her youth. She's beautiful and she will always be to that man. Here's another comment that says, I don't understand how Tom slithers his way out of Tina's trap question so effortlessly. Blows my mind every time. The laughing emoji is hilarious. This guys, as always, I'm Christina. What do you think? Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you checking out yet another episode of The Coffee Pot. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.